Playing as the evil team in any Pokemon game is always super interesting. Just look at one of the most popular Pokemon ROM hacks of all time, Team Rocket Edition. But what would happen if you were forced from a young age to start at an evil team, but deep down you're actually a good person that doesn't want to work for an evil organization? Well, in today's fan game Pokemon Willpower, we're going to find out what that's like. It features its own custom region called Sinnohdon, where we'll start off as a grunt for the evil team Promeno. So, can our main protagonist break free from these shackles and make an actual honest living as a Pokemon trainer by standing up to their evil team boss? Well, take my hand because it's time for us to run through Pokemon Willpower. We start off by being reintroduced to the Pokemon professor of this region, Beach. And yes, I did say reintroduced because he already knows us. And he's about to give us our next course of action because we just got brought to his lab. Apparently, we're not in a great situation because we tried to rob the richest house in Orchid City and failed. We also deserted the evil team Promeno that he's the boss of for unknown reasons almost 2 years ago, which made him very disappointed in us, but he is willing to give us a second chance. All we have to do is just do his bidding work, and if we refuse, we are taken to the police. So we don't really have a choice in the matter. So we comply, and to start us out, he even gives us our first Pokemon. We get the choice between Rookidee or Grubbin, and because evil team grunts always have the worst Pokemon ever, I decided to be a full-on bug trainer. So I picked up Grubbin, and every Pokemon I will be picking up in the future will also be bug type. And I will show the professor that even the weakest type will be incredibly strong in the hands of a capable trainer like me. Our friend Hazel gets the Rookidee that we didn't end up picking, and she's going to be our accomplice but also our rival throughout the story. The professor then wants us to become stronger and help him out with his research on the Pokédex. But in order to do that, we need to keep a low profile so we don't get captured by the police. So he's going to send us on a gym challenge as new trainers. But really, from the shadows, we'll be helping him and Team Promeno out as much as possible. Beach then heads out and we're just left with Hazel. While we are very scared of what can happen to us next because we're working for this evil team now, we're also very excited to become Pokemon trainers so that we can protect ourselves. So like real trainers do, we decide to challenge each other to a battle, and of course we end up losing because we are at a disadvantage here, as her bird just eats my little bug up for breakfast. We then regroup with the professor and one of the admins named Monica, who's supposed to take us somewhere near Saldo Town so we can start our gym challenge because we're way too weak to go on a mission yet. After getting dropped off, we learned that Monica saved us all those years ago when we ended up leaving the team, which to this day still left a sour taste in her mouth about us. So we're going to try and win her trust back by becoming as strong as possible. And I do that by strengthening the team with a Weedle and Wurmple I found on the very first round. After this, we arrive in town and use our very first Pokemon Center, and after doing some investigating, we see that Hazel is finding a random trainer on the upcoming route. His name is Axel, and he just lost his battle to our friend Hazel, and now he wants to come at me for his second one because he just got his first Pokemon too. And so he sends out his Goomy, which ends up dying to just 3 bug bites of my Grubbin. Despite losing, he still takes this as a learning opportunity and even says that the 3 of us are going to be rivals, which is really annoying for us because we don't want a kid going around poking in our business, as he could get hurt or even ruin some of our operations. But we can't really do anything about that, so we're just going to have to be careful when we're around him. Me and Hazel then split up and I go to capture more Pokemon for my bug-type team, including a Scatterbug and Caterpie. And the thing with bug-type Pokemon is that they always evolve super early. So I leveled them up just a little bit and already had a Beedrill, Beautifly, Butterfree, and Vivillon in no time, so we're going to be shredding through the early game. I then put on my hiking clothes and went through the rocky pathway until we ran into Hazel yet again. She just got her very first gym badge already and wants to test if we're strong enough to get it as well. And the answer is an astounding yes, as I use Bug Bites from Grubbin and Fury Cutters from Beedrill to take out Eevee, then Vivillon uses her Gust to blow away Zubat, and for the final Pokemon, Rookidee, I sent out Butterfree, put it to sleep, and also killed it with Gust. When she loses, Hazel realizes that we have to get stronger if we want to find out what the professor wants us to do. Because yeah, we were part of his evil team, but that was 2 years ago. We have no idea what his ambitions are today. But until we find that out, I decide to leave her in the dust. But first a word to today's sponsor, boot.dev. They're a website that'll learn you how to code, which is something I actually needed myself a couple of years ago back when I was in college. I ended up studying graphic design and one of my classes was a programming class and I failed that one every single time. Hence why I dropped out and became a YouTuber. But if I had boot.dev, everything would have been so much easier for me to learn. The main thing that was holding me back was because I was always bored when I tried the program. And boot.dev has a very good solution for this, because they made programming kind of like an RPG with earning XP, levels, achievements, and even completing quests so you can try to earn a top spot on the global leaderboard against other boot.dev users. They're mostly focused on back-end web development like Python and Go programming languages, but you can learn everything from start to finish with their easy-to-follow courses. But don't think you'll be able to just learn how to code in just a single day. You have to actually put in the work and write a lot of it so you can start building real projects, which could eventually lead you into becoming a programmer, which according to Stack Overflow have a very nice salary of over 100,000 US dollars per year back in 2023. So if you're interested in learning how to program, definitely give boot.dev a shot. You can even use my promo code zwiggojr to get 25% off your first entire year if you choose the annual plan. Or you can click my custom link down below to get 25% off your first ever payment. A huge thank you to boot.dev for sponsoring this video, and let's get right back into it. Go to Crimson City and take on a girl with her shiny Eevee. After a quick battle, we get the Soothe Bell as our reward, which is something I didn't really have any use for, because I already love my bug types more than enough. After this, I have to traverse a very dark maze of a gym until we reach the leader Corey, who seems to be my real rival because he also only uses bug types. But we're going to show him on how to use them properly. Yes, he might have taken out my Grubbin with a single U-turn of his B-drill, which swapped him out into Surskit, but after this, I just spammed Gust with Vivillon and Beautifly to take out said Surskit, but also B-drill and his very own Vivillon. This gives us the catcher badge, so now we're a true bug catcher. I checked out the rest of Crimson City and found out that after every single gym, you can go and pick up an HM Pokemon that will help you out whenever you need them. The first one you get is a Sandslash that will cut down any tree you come in contact with. That means I don't have to teach any of my Pokemon stupid useless HMs. With the help of this Sandslash, we were able to cut down a roadblock and reach Linoa City, where Professor Beach's lab is also located, so we go and make a quick pit stop there. Hazel had the same idea, which is great because now that we're both here, Beach can give us the next information. First thing, he's going to give us this lab as a place for us to live because he knows we're homeless. That's also the reason why we tried to steal from that big mansion, because we tried to pay rent, which we didn't have money for anymore. Secondly, he wants us to go to Alameda City, where we'll get our second gym badge, and once we get that one, we'll be called up for our first mission. He also advises us to not talk to any Pokemon Rangers because they are working with the police, and that could compromise our entire organization. Lastly, one of his executives, Brayden, is a fossil maniac and has made a machine that we can use to revive fossils. We even get a claw fossil as our very first one, which contains an Anorith that I immediately revive and add as a bug type to the team. Before we headed for the next gym badge, I wanted to see what this city had to offer me. So I went around and defeated an entire dojo to pick up their TMs, found a Pokemon fan club with some very useful NPCs like a move relearner. I also found the badge house where you can go after every gym badge you earn to get free TMs. There's also a department store where you can pick up mints for a very low price to change your Pokemon's nature to your desired one, and it also hosts some of the best held items like the Choice Band, Life Orb, Leftovers, and so much more. So I picked up as many of those items as I could and hit the road to Alameda City. Unfortunately for me, we run into Axel and one of his friends. Her name is Samantha and she's a newly registered Pokemon Ranger. This Axel kid is going to bring us in so much trouble if we keep running into him. But we are in luck because Samantha is actually the weakest Pokemon Ranger around, and she proves that to me with her very weak team of a Vulpix, Cutiefly, and Furret as her ace. And there's nothing a few Gusts, Psybeams, and Sleep Powders can't fix. However, after losing, we see Samantha's terrible attitude. She thinks she doesn't even deserve to be a Ranger ranger because she's so weak and can't help anyone. So me and Axel try to reassure her that she's fine, she just needs some more training and maybe some added team members. After this, she's cheered up and thanks us for the encouraging words, and once we split up, I do start thinking to myself that we should not be hanging out with these people anymore. But that's the least of my concerns, as the next gym badge is our highest priority. But first, I grab a Cutifly on this route before reaching Almeida City. A very cool place with a harbor, but also a bike shop. And this guy doesn't just want to let go of his bike immediately. He wants 1 million Poké Dollars for it. So I persuade him into giving me one for free by saying that I'll be working for the professor and traveling through the entire region, all while advertising his bikes. That seemed like a pretty good deal to him, so now we got ourselves a free bike. Unfortunately, the gym leader is not in yet because he just got beaten by a different trainer and is still preparing himself for the next battle. So we go over to Route 4 where we run into Hazel again, and of course, she's the trainer that just got the gym badge. She's also incredibly terrified of becoming friends with Samantha because that might mean that we'll have to fight her in the end. But we can't think about that doom scenario too much, so we start staring out at the lake in front of us and learn that this is actually the place we met all those years ago. That's where we saw a blue Pokemon emerge from the lake, and it gave us some kind of willpower which we've always used to try and overcome any challenge that has been thrown at our feet. Thinking about this moment makes us incredibly happy, and we even start to think that maybe we should have gotten captured by the police, as Hazel just got called up by Beach for her first mission as her second gym badge had been acquired. And we can't let her go alone at this, so we go into the gym ourselves to challenge the electric type gym leader Jason too, and he turned out to be a pushover for my bug types, because bug bites from my Anorith and Grubbin take care of Fluffy. Beedrill then cuts up his annoying Pikachu, and the final Pokemon Manectric gets put to sleep by Vivillon and dies to 2 Psybeams and a Struggle Bug. Now that we have the Flash badge, we have to head back to the professor, but I make a few pit stops capturing a Nincada and picking up the Mega Stone for Beedrill so we can eventually have an absolute powerhouse of a physical attacker. I run back to Linoa City where we see Hazel. We're now part of the same mission but have different tasks. Our next destination will be Orchid City, where I'm supposed to be a backup secret agent to try and gain the gym leader's trust, while Hazel is going to be part of the diversion team while the others try to steal some very important documents. So to prepare ourselves for the incoming mission, we of course battle each other. This fight starts off terrible for me as Grubbin and Anorith get taken out by Fire Fangs from her little puppy. We were able to hit 2 Metal Claws, which caused Beautifly to take it down with a Mega Drain, but Golbat was no problem at all because my Beautifly has the Berserk ability, which boosts its special attack once it goes below half health. This happened and gave us the opportunity to 2-shot it with Air Cutter. We also 1-shot her newly evolved Leafeon and take out her Rookidee with Beedrill. Hazel now knows we're going to be strong enough for the incoming mission, which calms her down a lot, and we both head out to our post so we can get this done swiftly and clean. But I need to do some extra preparations, like evolving my Cutifly into Ribombee and my Nincada into Ninjask, but more importantly, getting the free Shedinja with Wonder Guard that's going to make some battles incredibly easy, because so many Pokemon have no moves to hit this ghost bug type with. I then make my way through the dangerous lava cave to reach Route 15, which ends up in Orchid City, the place where everything is going to go down. But before the operation happens, we do run into Axel, who just lost to the local gym leader, and we want to cheer him up with yet another battle. And I understand why he lost to the gym leader, because his Pidgeotto, Jolteon, and Roselia all died to assurances from Beedrill. We then use Ribombee's Draining Kiss to finish off the last Pokemon Goomy, and boom, the battle is already over. Just when Axel is about to head off to train more, we hear some ruckus from into town, so we go and check it out. It's the operation that just started as Team Promeno has taken over the town, and we cannot let our cover as the secret agent be blown, otherwise Axel will hate us. The grunts of course know this and decide to take me and Axel on in a double battle to take suspicion away from me. After a quick battle, the local gym leader Dina comes up to me and thanks me for the help, but in that moment our executive native Katharina joins in with even more grunts. She orders all of her grunts to go around town and pick up as many resources as they can, while she takes on the local gym leader Dina to give them some more time. I then pretend to run off while Hazel, disguised as a grunt, comes after me. We then split up so she can go and rob some of the shops, and I go to the mansion to scan the important documents Beach needs. That's where we meet with yet another admin named Inigo, who is in need of our help. He orders me to scan all the pages on top of the table because nobody can know that we stole them, so they have to remain here. We upload them and send them to the professor, but that's when Dina walks in. We accuse Inigo of stealing the papers and then battle him to try and get him out. After using some pin missiles and draining kisses, his Gabite, Dragonair, and Shelgon all bite the dust. He then sprints out and drops the papers as part of the plan. Dina doesn't go after him and instead thanks me for helping out. Axel also barges in, and so we have to ask what those papers were actually about. We learn that they're instructions to make the Red Chain, a legendary item that is used to control the legendary beings Dialga and Palkia. But she tells we have nothing to worry about because the papers remained here, so they will never have an idea of how to make the Red Chain. I do start to think by myself, what does Beach want with the Red Chain? What does he want to accomplish? But there's just too many unanswered questions right now that we can't focus on, so instead we'll just have to take Dina up on her gym challenge. And we find out that she's a psychic type specialist, which is terrible for her and great for me, as our Rybombi uses Pollen Puff to take down Espeon, Zatu, and Kadabra. Her Ace Gardevoir then hits the field, but I know she has nothing for my Shedinja, so I spam Scratch for 15 turns in a row to win this gym battle and gain the Serve badge. But I also remember that I tried to steal from her and her family back in the past, so I'm starting to feel guilty, but I can't tell her anything because she doesn't recognize me. With this double feeling, I head back outside and get another call from Professor Beach. He congratulates me on completing my mission, but he already has a new one for me back in Ancient Town, where there are some ancient markings inside of an old ruin, and we need to go and scan those as well. Monica, one of the admins, will also be joining us because the ruin will be heavily guarded by Pokemon Rangers. He says that he needs these markings for his research, but we start to link these together with the Red Chain. So once our talk with Beach is over, I decide to call my friend Hazel. She also doesn't like the idea of helping the professor any further, but we're unfortunately too weak to stand up to him or any of the admins. So even though we really don't want to do this anymore, we are still going to have to go through with this mission, otherwise our lives might be over. So with a frown on my face, I use Surf to reach Plum Town. This is the place where we used to live until we couldn't afford rent anymore, and being here again brings up all kinds of memories, but it mainly makes me feel even more conflicted. So to combat these feelings, I decide to check out the town I grew up in, but also evolve my Grubbin into Charjabug. Just when we're about to leave our nostalgia trip, however, we run into Samantha again. She's on a mission for her Uncle Ronan, who also happens to be the Ranger Chief. That's why she also ends up being so hard on herself, because she wants to make him proud. But because of what happened in Orchid Town, the rest of the Rangers are now protecting more and more places, including the ancient ruins where she's headed. It would be terrible if she's there while we attack, but it's a risk we have to take. So with a heavy heart, we wave each other goodbye, and I make it through the dark cave to reach Ancient Town, where we get called over by some of our team members because there's also some Rangers and the gym leader in town to protect the ruins, and we can't be spotted by them. Once they leave, Monica explains the plan. We're going to run into those ruins, capture and imprison every Ranger so that we have free reign to take the scans we need. A terrible plan that I'm not a fan of, but unfortunately we have no other choice. So we rush in, defeat and capture 2 Rangers, but when we get to the end of the ruins, we see that our team members have lost against the other 2. So Monica orders us to take them down, which was pretty easy. This also made them realize that we are in fact a part of Team Promeno, so now they have to disappear before they tell anybody else. Monica then finishes up the scans, tells me I did a good job, and hands me the HMs for Fly and Flash. We're supposed to be getting our next gym badge while we wait for the next course of action, so we travel through a rainy, muddy swamp, and with our pants all soaked, we arrive in Sartan City. The most dangerous place for us to be right now, because the Elite Four and Champion are in town. They don't seem to be up to date about anything with Team Promeno, as they're just out for a stroll. They do wish me luck with my next gym battle here in the town, because after we get that gym badge, we'll be able to unlock Mega Evolution, which is really exciting. But the real reason why this place is scary is because the Ranger building is also in town. town, and if we get recognized somewhere around here, we are going to be screwed. So we try to stay away from that place as much as possible, but we do also check out the battle house. This is a place where you can grind any type of EVs you want, or even money. So after giving some of my Pokemon the right stats and evolving Anorith into Armaldo, I end up fully prepared for my next gym battle. After going through some pitfalls, we eventually reach the leader Mars and his ground types. He loves to run a Sandstream team, and with his rock slides, he's actually a very formidable opponent. But that doesn't mean we're not going to one-shot his first Pokemon Golem with an easy Giga Drain from Beautifly. My Shedinja then gets taken out by the Sandstorm damage after I hit a Shadow Sneak on Gastrodon. Beautifly then cleans up with another drain of the Giga, but my Eviolite Charjabug does tank 2 rock slides by Excadrill and hits 2 digs, taking it down into the red before going down. Luckily for me, Ribombee is faster than this big mole, so with a Pollen Puff we put it back into the ground. His last Pokemon is a massive Steelix that tanks 3 Razor Shells from Armaldo and even takes me down, but now that he basically has no HP left, we only need to hit 1 more Giga Drain to take him down and claim the Relic Badge. I know we were talking about Mega Evolution earlier, and now that we can use Rock Smash, that's going to be opening up for us as we reach Relic Town as our next destination. This town is the home of the Mega Evolution Temple, but just before we can enter, we run into Hazel, who comes out. She just got her keystone from the old guru inside and also asks me how the mission went back in Ancient Town. After telling her what happened, she says that we were just doing our job and they were doing theirs. There's nothing we can do about it, so how about we just take our minds off it with a little battle. We agree and immediately take out her Crobat with Rock Blast from Armaldo. Her next team member is a Duskform Lycanroc that uses Rock Slide to take out my Ribombee after I hit it with an Energy Ball, which ended up doing enough damage for Charjabug to use X-Scissor and take out the dog. The incoming 2 Pokemon, Houndoom and Leafeon, are easy pickings for my Bug Buzzing Beautifly with Choice Specs, and with the combined power of my Armaldo's Rock Blast and Beedrill's Poison Jab, the final Pokemon, Corvisquire, also falls to the ground. With the battle over, we head inside ourselves to pick up our own keystone, so we show the Sage inside our 4 acquired gym badges, which impresses him a lot. But this isn't enough to get our own keystone. We have to beat him first. He starts off with a Dunsparce that survives a Bug Buzz with its Focus Sash and then counters back with a Rock Slide, killing my beautiful Beautifly. I use Armaldo's Brick Break to finish it off and hit another one on the incoming Ursaring, but once its Flame Orb activates on the second turn, we are dead. This bear isn't too fast though, so Ribombee can speed past it and take it down with Pollen Puff. We do the same to his Slacking, hitting 3 of the Pollen Puffs to force out his final Pokemon, Mega Pidgeot. A bird that probably would have killed my entire team if Charjabug didn't paralyze it with Spark. That was enough for Beedrill to outspeed and take it down with a second Poison Jab. Now that we've proven ourselves, we get our very own keystone, which means we can finally evolve Beedrill into its Mega form whenever we want to. With our newly acquired power, we enter Port City and see that there's something going on at the square. It's a special performance from the idol and local gym leader Shelby. She's just lost a major gym battle earlier today and is looking for a new challenger to broadcast it worldwide through the TV. So I step up as candidate, and just like that, we are picked for her next challenge. So we go through her fairy teleport puzzle and reach the broadcasting arena, where our battle starts. I start off by setting up a Sticky Whip with Charjabug, then I swap into my Mega Beedrill to take down her Sylveon in one hit with Poison Jab. Her Mismagius then comes in, so I swap into Armaldo to take it out with some Rock Blasts. Togekiss also gets one-shot by my Beedrill's Poison Stinger, and the ace up her sleeve, Mega Mawile, did not have a single move to touch my Shedinja with, so with 3 more Shadow Claws, this gym battle is as good as over. This gives us the Idol badge, but also some advice from the gym leader herself. When the cameras stop rolling, she explains that she absolutely loves her job but needs some breaks here and there. But she also tells me that if I'm doing something that I'm not enjoying, then I should just stop doing it because I'm just going to make myself miserable. This sparks yet another flame up inside of me because I really want to stop working for this evil professor. And with every gym badge we get a little stronger, so eventually we might be able to get the willpower to stand up to him. Speaking of the professor, he gives me another call and congratulates me on another mission completed. But he has a new mission for me already. He has found a Pokemon that is exceptionally rare and needs us to aid the team to go and capture it. There's 2 more of these kinds of Pokemon, but unfortunately the location of those are still unknown, so we'll have to go after this one first. It's located near a lake on Route 11. But just when I'm about to head out, a very concerned looking Axel comes up to me and says that Samantha told him that Team Promeno is going to Route 11, the same mission that I am assigned to. So we tell him that we don't have time to go with him right now and that the authorities should just handle it. This makes Axel mad as he rushes off in disappointment, leaving me behind with a very bad feeling. We follow in his footsteps and try to stay unnoticed while capturing a Jupiter on the way. We immediately evolve it into a Rockwanid, which will cover our fire weakness a lot more, and then we use Beedrill's flash to light up a dark cave so we can traverse it more easily and reach Route 12, where another encounter was waiting for us. This time it was in the form of a Scyther, one of the best bug-type Pokemon around, definitely when he evolves into Scizor. After this we reach Woodland Town, but unfortunately the gym leader is not in, as he's helping out some local rangers with protecting an area. So that means we need to go through the cave again to follow our mission objective to Route 11, where we finally catch up with Axel, who's already reached the middle of the cave where this supposed legendary Pokemon resides. But he isn't here alone, as Brayden, Inigo, and some grunts are also accompanying him. Axel can't take them all on by himself and easily gets wiped out by Inigo. He gets scolded for being a weakling, and the rest of the team doesn't want to compromise my position, so they send out the grunts to hold him down while Brayden captures the legendary Pokemon Yuxi. Brayden then tells his men to leave with Yuxi in their pocket while he takes care of us. And so we end up in yet another battle with our admin. This ends up being pretty easy for me, as Beautifly deals with Golem and Cradily, Mega Beedrill uses Brick Break to take down Bastiodon's big shield, and his Mega Aerodactyl, which might look like a threat, can't take a single Rock Blast from our Maldo. Once our battle is over, Brayden says that their mission is already completed, so it doesn't matter that we get in his way. Axel is surprised to hear that the Red Chain mission in Orchid actually went through, even though they weren't able to steal the documents. And now that they've captured Yuxi, they just need Mesprit and Azelf to complete their plan. But when he says the word Azelf, I start to get lightheaded as if I've forgotten something. That's when Axel jumps in front of me to try and protect me, but it's already too late because Brayden uses Smokescreen with his Seadra and escapes. Axel then realizes that he's been way too reckless and shouldn't have jumped into this mission alone. If he would have brought more backup, he might have been able to prevent this, so now he's going to go out and work on himself so he can do better next time. Now that our mission is done here, I decide to head back to Woodland Town to enter the nearby forest where some more grunts were waiting for me. They need me to scan some runes on a nearby rock and send them over to the professor. But when I arrive there and start taking the pictures, we unfortunately get recognized by one of the rangers. It's Samantha, and she knows this area is supposed to be off limits because the rangers are supposed to be protecting it. And this sparks off something in her brain. Every time Team Promeno has attacked, I have been there. This causes her to lay a link between me and them, so now she knows I've been working for the evil team all this time. She starts shouting at me that if these legendary Pokemon come into the wrong hands, the entire world could be at risk. But unfortunately, she doesn't understand what's on the line for me. So that's where we clash with her and end up in a battle, which like always goes in my favor as her team stood no chance against anything I threw at her. She starts sobbing as she doesn't understand why she's so useless. But before we can try and comfort her, the rest of my grunts already take her away to an unknown facility. So we call up Hazel and tell her what happened. She in turn also feels terrible and urges us to become stronger so that we might be able to free Samantha eventually, because that's the only thing we can do right now. So I head to the gym where I evolve my Charjabug into Vikavolt and challenge the grass-type gym leader Leif. He's not having a great day because a ton of rangers got captured under his supervision and he wants to get that anger out against me. But you already know that his grass types are not going to be a problem for my bugs, because they munch them up as their dinner. And Beautifly shows that off immediately by taking on Roserade and doing decent damage against Cradily before going down. I then send out Beedrill and used Pin Missile and Poison Jab to take out Cradily, Lurantis, Trevenant, and Mega Venusaur floor like it's nothing. This gives us the forest badge, which means we have 2 more to go. And to prepare ourselves for those, I go and pick up a metal coat at a local market to evolve my Scyther into zwiggojr. I then hike through the extremely cold environment of Mount Pico to reach the snowy Pico City, which is also the location of our next gym battle. But we all know our good old friend Hazel is also on a path to becoming stronger, and just when we're about to enter this next gym building, we end up running into her again. She tries consoling me, but nothing seems to help, as our only goal to try and stop this evil team from within seems to be just out of reach like always. But to keep the mood up, she wants another battle with me so we can become stronger and get to that goal more easily. This time I try to take out her Crobat with my Vikavolt Thunderbolt, but she swaps out into Lycanroc. This dog might be able to tank one, but once I swap into zwiggojr and hit it with a bullet punch, it's down for the count. I then use Armaldo's rocks to blast her Mega Houndoom out of here, followed up by my Beedrill using Poison Jab on Leafeon. Now she only has 2 flying types left. One of them was Crobat, who got rock blasted again by Armaldo, and the final one, Corvisquire, got shocked out of the air by a Thunderbolt. This gives me enough confidence to go and try out for our next gym battle, but first we had to complete a tedious ice puzzle that took me like 50 minutes to get through. Once my brain finally started functioning, however, I was able to reach the gym leader Telsa with her ice types. This ended up being a double battle with Hail on the field. So I started out by smashing Auroras from my Beedrill's Brick Break and set up a Sticky Whip with Vikavolt. The next turn, Frostmoth came in and both of my Pokemon died to Blizzard, so I sent out zwiggojr and Armaldo to squash them with Bullet Punch and Rock Blast. This brought out her final 2 Pokemon, Mega Abomasnow and Frostlass, and with just a single Rock Blast, Frostlass was already down. I then spammed Bullet Punch until Obama was KO'd as well, and so we get ourselves the Sparkle badge. As I'm about to go back outside, we panned to the view of Professor Beach, who's talking to our friend Samantha inside of some sort of prison. He notices that she's incredibly young and weak and tries to convince her to join his side, and in return he'll make her stronger. At first she doesn't comply, but then Beach says that his dream is to capture or create the strongest Pokemon ever, and this perfectly aligns with Samantha's dream of becoming a strong ranger, so why not work together in achieving both of their goals? That's when she finally breaks and says, "I'll do it. I'll work by your side, just tell me what to do." And the first thing the professor does is get rid of her partner Pokemon that's been with her entire life, Furret, to replace it with something that in his eyes is a lot stronger. A very sad display on how power can corrupt even the most pure souls, but I'm sure Samantha will turn her back on this belief sooner rather than later. When we pan back to me, I get another call from Beach saying that we need to come to the underwater cavern for yet another mission to capture another legendary, and we'll be joined by Katharina and Hazel, so we better hurry, because failure is not an option. So I go back into the depths of Dusk Cave, where I do my very first diving session. But this cave requires 100% of your brain power to be used, because every single time you enter a new floor, there's a new strength puzzle for you to complete. At the end of all of them, my scalp might have been smoking, but I got through them, and just when I'm about to reach the mission location, I run into the boss of the Rangers, Ronan, who says that I should get out of his way because he's going to try and stop Team Promeno. I tell him that I unfortunately cannot let him go any further, and that's when we end up clashing in a battle. He starts off with a Pokemon that's very scary for my entire team, Ninetales, and it also puts up the drought, making its fire-type moves even stronger. Once it's able to take down my Araquanid, I swap into Armaldo and kill it with Rock Blast, and even hit a Pin Missile with my Mega Beedrill on the incoming Solrock before going down to Rock Slide. I ended off with my Beautiflies Bug Buzz, use Thunderbolt to shock Zatsu and bring out Sceptile, who dies to a Bug Buzz as well. The last team member ended up being a Mega Blaziken who couldn't survive a single Air Cutter from Beautifly, and that was the Ranger Chief defeated. He tells me that we should move aside because helping out Team Promeno is absolutely awful, and from here on out the adults should be handling it, to which I get incredibly mad because up until this point the adults have done nothing. I mean, they can't even beat me, a trainer with just a few days of experience. I'm not choosing to be in this situation, I am being forced to. And if you guys aren't going to handle it, well, then you're just going to have to wait until I strike at the right moment. After this, we enter the final room where we see Katharina capturing Azelf. That's when my head starts hurting again as Azelf looks me straight in the eyes and I remember everything now. now. This is the Pokemon that gave me that willpower all those years ago. But unfortunately, it's not a very nice reunion as it gets captured by Katharina right in that moment. Me and Hazel then stood there without saying anything, and while everyone else leaves in silence, I get another call from Beach who says that the next mission is at Riveria Cave where I'll have to fend off more Pokemon Rangers. I still really don't want to do this, but I have to talk to Hazel to see if she feels the same way. Only then we might be able to do something about it. So I start heading to the docks where I'm supposed to be taken to the island of the mission, but the local gym leader comes along and says that my friend Hazel is somewhere on Route 4 crying. When we head over there and ask her what's wrong, she says she has these kinds of outbursts more often because she keeps lying to herself. Because deep down she knows we have dragged so many innocent people into this, like Axel and Samantha, who don't deserve to be in this situation. And all of those innocent rangers that got captured are also our fault. And she knows that the excuse of us being too weak to stand up for ourselves is no longer valid. So it's time to make a change. We were being way too careful, and now it's time to go balls to the wall and rebel against our evil leader Beach to try and stop this once and for all. We're going to make sure they're not going to be able to make the red chain, but in order to see if we're ready, we need one last battle against each other. This one, of course, goes as usual, me wiping her entire team without her having a chance, but it does give both of us a lot of confidence to go into this next part. So we head to the ship together and sail to the Starlit Harbor. From here, we track through the next town and route, but just before we reach our destination, we get called by Axel, who to this day still has no idea we were working for Team Promeno. He's gained a lot of confidence since last time we fought, and the next time he ran into me, he wanted the battle, which is now. So let's get it going. I start off by using Thunderbolt with Vikavolt to try and take down Wailord, but he immediately swaps out into his Mega Blastoise, who doesn't take it too well and gets his shell cracked. His next Pokemon, Jolteon, dies to my Armaldo with an easy one-shot. Pidgeot has no chance against one Thunderbolt from Vikavolt. Scizor takes down Roserade with Acrobatics. His Wailord then uses Hydro Pump to finish off my Scizor and Vikavolt, but Mega Beedrill KOs it with Poison Jab. The final Pokemon is his ace, Goodra, so I ended up hitting one more Poison Jab, then going into Armaldo and finishing it off with one last X-Scissor. A very close battle, but in the end we scrape out a win, which makes Axel a little more confident. However, he hasn't heard from his friend Samantha in a while because he thinks she might have been captured by Team Promeno. We of course know this is true, and just when we're about to confess everything, he breaks me off and ends up zooming past me because he didn't have time to listen to me. But next time we'll make sure he knows who we really are. After this, I make it to Bluruma Town and go straight north to reach the mission location, Riveria Cave. After traversing through some more string puzzles, we run into the legendary chamber, but somehow Axel also made his way over here and sees that Hazel and some of our commandos are standing further back to capture Mesprit. But we're too late because the legendary just got captured. After that, Katharina immediately starts threatening Axel because she says it's 4 against 1. So he now knows we work for them. He says, "Please Hazel, tell me this isn't true." Just in that moment, me and Hazel stand by Axel's side and stand up against Katharina and Monica. We're no longer going to be oppressed by people like you, and we can't let you go through with this mission. This makes Katharina incredibly mad because this is the second time we have turned on the team, and she's about to blow her wrath right at us. Luckily, we have Hazel fighting right by our side, and after they face the power of our Scizor and Houndoom, not even their Gallade and Gengar could save them. Their teams got squashed because in the end, the one with the purest heart and most willpower always comes out on top. Once they're defeated, we demand they hand over the Pokeball with Mesprit, but it's too late. They use their Seadra smokescreen and escape from the scene. We try to go after them, but Axel says he's not going anywhere without an explanation, because otherwise he's not going to be able to trust us anymore. So we narrate our entire backstory to the kid and even tell him about some extra information that Professor Beach used to do experiments over 2 years ago, and one of them went terribly wrong, and ever since then, one of the admins of Team Promeno was never seen again. That was also the reason why we left Team Promeno 2 years ago. Axel still can't believe that the mighty and high-regarded Professor Beach is behind all of this, but he has no choice but to believe us on our word. He also asks what our next course of action is going to be, and the only thing we have left to do is to go to the abandoned lab where all of the experiments happened 2 years ago, because there might be some information and clues there about the professor's whereabouts and motivations. And Axel is in fact going to join us. So we head out to Linoa City, but on the way there we run into an ambush of grunts, but the three of us can easily overpower them. This leads us to a new route, and if we follow the road we finally enter the abandoned lab. At first there doesn't seem to be all that much going on until we find a book laying on a table, which contains a journal but also research notes from 2 years ago. The entire place is filled with these kinds of books, and from them we learn that Beach was trying to create the strongest Pokemon ever. He started out by doing experiments on Pokemon, but eventually when that didn't work out, he started mixing DNA of humans together with Pokemon. And this caused an entire catastrophe, because in the end all of the scientists that were working from a remote location called Ruined Home all died in the same explosion. Unfortunately, nothing else can be found out about what the explosion was, but when we finally get to the end of the lab, we see Brayden standing in the corner. He knew that because of our betrayal we would have to come here eventually, so he waited for us. We learned that he was one of the scientists many years ago and has also stopped believing in Beach's ideology, and while he might not care about the people from Senoden, he doesn't want the professor to go on any further. Fortunately, he doesn't just want to side with us immediately, we have to prove our strength to him so he can see that we're worth it to team up with. Because if we're not, he might be putting himself into very grave danger. And we basically have no choice but to comply with this battle, because otherwise we're never going to find out where their actual hideout is. So we go toe to toe as he throws out his golem against my Beautifly. I use Giga Drain to take it out in one hit, break Bastiodon's skull with Armaldo's Brick Break, use Pin Missile to stop the moon from haunting me, the same goes for Cradily, and we finish off the final Pokemon Mega Aerodactyl with 2 more bullet punches. Now that Brayden is defeated, he gives me the location of the hideout, which is supposed to be in Merton Town, just past Route 17. He also warns me of Professor Beach's strength because he's way stronger than any of the admins, so we better be on our tippy toes. With all of these mysteries uncovered, we regroup and head to Merton Town. But it wasn't easy to get there, because not only was Route 17 filled with grunts trying to protect the place, but the place itself was also just an entire town taken over by Team Promeno. There is no more regular citizens living there. They have all been driven out by the professor and his goons. Once most grunts are defeated, I decide to enter the professor's lab, but we end up getting ambushed by 3 more grunts. Once these are defeated, me and Hazel enter together and start searching the place for clues. She immediately notices a book sticking out of the bookcase, and when she pulls it, a secret passageway opens up. This leads to the cell block where all the rangers are locked up. So we go to the nearby computer to open up all the doors and set them all free. Once they're all safe and have headed outside, one of them comes up to us and thanks us for helping them out. Even though we were the ones that put them in here in the first place, they do know that we have had a change of heart. This gives us even more confidence going forward, so we enter the next room where our friend Samantha is locked up. But she isn't very excited to see us. She says that it's our fault that she's locked in here in the first place and she can never trust us again. And she's also realized that because of Professor Beach's help, she's now become way stronger. We try to talk her out of this mindset, but nothing seems to be working. She knows we're backstabbers and the only one that's helping her is the professor. And she's set on trying to help him capture the legendary Pokemon Mewtwo back in Serenity Cave, who escaped all those years ago. And once he has the power of his genetically modified beast, nothing is going to be able to stop him. Unfortunately, this part of the cave is not accessible until you have the 8th gym badge, which none of us have gotten, but in that moment an Abra spawns in and teleports Samantha away to the space where she needs to be. This only leaves us with one more option, and that is going to get our final gym badge so we can go after them. But before we do that, there is one more location in this base we haven't checked out yet, and that is one of the back rooms. Here we meet the 4th admin, Inigo, who is guarding the 3 Lake Guardians. And we came just in time because they haven't been able to produce the red chain yet. So we beat him and his dragon types to a pulp, and use the computer to free the lake spirits so that he doesn't get control of the legendary beings Dialga and Palkia. Brayden also walks in and tells Inigo that he needs to stop supporting the professor because otherwise we're all just going to get killed. He's taking advantage of all of his admins and grunts, and even though we all own our life to him, that doesn't mean we need to follow him any longer. Inigo then runs off, and once the lake spirits are finally free, we surf to our next objective, which is the Shining Resort. On this very distant island, there is only a few buildings, and one of them is the final gym. So we tell the gym leader Julie what's going on, and she immediately accepts my challenge. She specializes in water types, and this ends up being a double battle as well, making it a bit harder. And with the rain up, she's also going to have the advantage. She leads off with a Wailord and a Relicanth. We immediately take the Ancient Fish out with Giga Drain from Beautifly and also hit a Thunderbolt on Wailord, which does a major amount of damage but doesn't quite kill. She brings out her Starfish, which goes down to a Thunderbolt and Giga Drain combo, but unfortunately my Beautifly also falls, and even Vikavolt ends up being frozen out by Wailord's Ice Beam. I then send out Scizor and Araquanid to immediately take out Wailord with Bullet Punch and also the incoming Sharpedo with X-Scissor. Her final two team members are Mega Swampert and Milotic, who do not want to go down easy. They easily take out my Scizor without him being able to get a hit off, but Araquanid does hit a Liquidation on Swampert. I then send out Beedrill, but even he gets outsped because of the Swampert Swift Swim and gets killed in one shot again. We finally take the Swampert down with Araquanid's Liquidation, and now it's 2 against 1. A couple more Leech Lives and X-Scissors, and this battle is ours to win. Now that we have our last gym badge, we can use the Waterfall HM to enter the final part of Serenity Cave, which is already infested with Team Promano grunts. They even try to stop me with a roadblock, but we are in luck because Axel and Hazel are here to give me some backup. While they use their powers to hold back the grunts, I decide to head deeper into the cave while running into Monica and Katharina. After we win against them in 2 separate battles, we try to make them realize that the professor is indeed not someone that's trustworthy, and while they are slightly agreeing with me, they still don't have the willpower to stand up to him, so instead they let me pass so I can try to handle it. But it's already too late. Once we reach the heart of the cave, we see that the professor has already captured his Mewtwo. We see Samantha talking to her uncle Ronan, who's saying that she's gotten way stronger and that is probably the reason why she follows the professor. He's just disappointed in her that she's lost her way and even let go of her favorite Pokemon Furret. He tries to tell her that Professor Beach is only looking out for himself, but Samantha is just happy to be useful for something for once in her life. Ronan tries to talk some sense into her, but it isn't working, and then Beach shows up and lets Mewtwo handle the rest as he throws Ronan off a cliff. Samantha doesn't even seem to care because the only thing she says is,
"So that's what happens to the weak."
This is my moment to jump in and confront the professor, but he already knows we're here. He tries to mock me by saying, "Oh, you're here to stop me? You already know that's impossible, right? You know what? I'm going to give you one more choice. You can either join me here or die on the spot." We have already joined him twice. We're not going to do it a third time, so after we stand up to him, all of our friends and even the 2 admins come to back me up. But it's of no use because the professor tells this Mewtwo to strike me down, but instead of using an attacking move, he teleports me away to the island where all of this experimenting started, the ruined home where all of those scientists died all these years ago. The entire place is abandoned, but there is a way out. So I use Surf to get off the island, but the only thing that I end up running into is a special cave. That's where we meet the original mythical Pokemon Mew. We now know that Mewtwo sent me here on purpose to find Mew so she could help me defeat the professor. So we defeat it in a battle to prove our worth and head back to the island where it joins my side. But I still can't get off of this island. After this thought enters my head, we hear a ship in the distance. It's Hazel and my friends who are here to pick me up and bring me back to the mainland. They tell me that Mewtwo and the professor have gone to the Pokemon champion to defeat him and take control of the region. So if we hurry, we might be able to stop him before he accomplishes this. So we sail to Orchid City where we battle Axel because he wants to know if we're going to be able to take down the professor with our current strength. We easily show him that he has nothing to worry about as his team gets wiped off the face of the earth in a matter of seconds, but he also goes on to say that there will be one more challenge waiting for me before we are allowed in Victory Road. While I'm wondering what that could be, my thoughts get answered pretty quickly. It's Hazel, who was incredibly worried that I was going to be destroyed by the professor and his Mewtwo, just like what happened camp back in Serenity Cave. However, we reassure her that with the power of Mew, we will be absolutely fine, it will protect us, and we will win that battle fair and square. But she still wants reassurance with one final fight. So I gladly agree, and our two ultimate teams fight each other. I start off by setting up a swords dance against her Crobat and then taking it down with 2 more bullet punches. I have been poisoned, which I still don't know how that's possible because I'm a steel type, but I decide to stay in and hit another bullet punch on the incoming Mega Houndoom, doing about half of its health. One more liquidation from Araquanid drowns out the Hound, and with a single Thunderbolt from Vikavolt, Starmie is also no longer here. Lycanroc then dies to a single Giga Drain, Leafeon to Poison Jab, and what's a better way to finish off this fight than both of our starter Pokemon against each other as my Vikavolt strikes her Corviknight down with Thunderbolt. As our final clash ends, Hazel tells me that I should be careful and gives me one last hug before we finally go into Victory Road. This place wasn't too hard to get through, but as we approached the exit, we ended up getting stopped in our tracks by Samantha, the last line of defense from the professor. She once again blames me for getting her captured and that this is in the end all my fault. She also tries to gaslight me by saying the professor is the one who made me strong, but that's just not true. He only gave me my starter, and with the support of Axel and Hazel, I was able to complete my journey and become as strong as I am today. Beach basically had nothing to do with that part. She still doesn't want to accept this reality, and instead of just, becoming normal again, she wants to battle me right here and now. So let's see if the professor really made her stronger. She still has her Ribombee, which already doesn't seem like a strong Pokemon. So we kill it with 2 bullet punches from Scizor, but it is able to set up a Sticky Whip, which is going to slow down my Pokemon. I then use Liquidation to one-shot our Ninetales easily, and also hit a Giga Drain on the incoming Rampardos. Beautifly doesn't survive a head smash of this amazing physical attacker though, but the recoil damage does send him back to the prehistoric era. Scizor uses Bullet Punch to KO Glaceon. Mega Gyarados is a little scary, but my own Mega Beedrill can Pin Missile it to make her Flygon come out. That's when I send out Armaldo, use 2 Razor Shells, and that is Samantha defeated. I'm not gonna lie, her team really wasn't all that strong, but definitely stronger without the Furret. After this, we learn that Beach is supposed to get rid of her if she ends up losing against me. So we tell her that this is the worst behavior ever, and that finally makes her see that he is a terrible human being that was just taking advantage of her. But she still feels incredibly useless because she lost to me. So I try to reassure her by saying that she was never useless, but she still doesn't believe me. That's when Axel comes in, and his kind words finally snap her out of this disbelieving state, and she starts believing in herself again, and even wishes me the most luck I could ever have when we inevitably face the professor. Everything seems to be looking up. We have so many things by our side that are going to be helping me in this battle. There is no way we're losing now. Let's head to the Elite Four. Their first member, Kingsley, immediately tells me that something terrible is going on, but we already know that the professor has barged through here. We tell him that we're here to stop him, but unfortunately, even with all of this going on, the Elite Four can't let me through until we defeat them. So let's take out our bag of tricks and finish them off one by one. Kingsley here specializes in the Steel typing, and his starting Pokemon is a Skarmory who doesn't take 2 Thunderbolts very well. It might have been able to poison my Vikavolt, but that was not enough at all. After that is done, my Araquanid does get taken down by Rock Slide from Excadrill, but he is able to hit a Liquidation, so Scizor can finish it off with Bullet Punch. Beedrill then breaks Empoleon's beak without much effort, and 2 Thunderbolts from Vikavolt easily overpower Scizor. We end up going down to the toxic damage, but once I bring out Armaldo, I use Brick Break to finish off Magnezone and even put a dent in the armor of Mega Aggron. We waste no time and move on to the second Elite Four member, Polina. Immediately, she specializes in flying types, which could be an issue. The first standoff against her Beautifly with my Scizor immediately ends in a stalemate as we end up going down to my Life Orb damage, but we also take it out with a Bullet Punch. Gyarados then dies to a Thunderbolt from Vikavolt, and Armaldo Rock Blasts her Dragonite. The same goes for Honchkrow, but Swellow is too fast and finishes off my prehistoric bug. Now that it has taken damage from its Flame Orb, however, we can indeed use Thunderbolt again to take it down, but Altaria is a bird that can be very tough if you don't have a Mega Beedrill with Poison Jab that can easily one-shot it. That gave us the win, so it's time to move on to the third Elite Four member and the hardest one, Leo, with his fire types. He has an Infernape that just hits 1 Fire Punch before going down to 2 Razor Shells from Armaldo. The incoming Volcarona dies to a single liquidation from Araquanid. I then sack Beautifly against this next Pokemon Arcanine because the Flare Blades damage is needed for my Mega Beedrill to one-shot it the turn after with Poison Jab. We all know Magcargo is not surviving a water type attack, so Araquanid deals with the Slug. Flareon does take a liquidation very well, but I am able to take it down with Scisor's Bullet Punch after it KOs my Vikavolt. The ace up his sleeve is a Mega Charizard Y, so I use Bullet Punch with Scizor to get some chip damage off, then swap into Mega Beedrill to outspeed and kill it with Poison Jab again. The final member of the Elite Four is Kathleen, and she specializes in Dark types, which is something I can dismantle easily with my bugs. The only three things we needed in this fight were Mega Beedrill's Pin Missile, Araquanid's Leech Lives and a Liquidations, and in the end, Armaldo with his X-Scissors. Once her final Pokemon Mega Absol fell to the ground, I've moved on to the champion room to see what had happened. We witnessed that the professor has just beaten the champion Kieran and is disappointed that this is supposed to be the strongest trainer in the region. But Beach notices me in the background and knows that his victory is not guaranteed yet. Kieran tells me to get out of here as fast as possible because this man is dangerous, but we tell him that we just took down the Elite Four and are here to stop him. So he lets me pass so we can look the professor right in the eyes. With a smirk on his face, he says that the last time we met I was lucky to survive, but this time it won't come to that. And when he's done with me, he's going to capture Dialga and Palkia and not only take over the entire region, but the entire world. In his eyes, it seems like we're helpless, so he orders his Mewtwo to Size Strike me, but in that moment, my guardian angel Mew protects me. This shocks the professor because he knows he can't take me down while this thing is on my side, giving us the opportunity to challenge him to a fair and square battle. So let's end this once and for all and save the region from Professor Beach. He leads off with an Araquanid, a Pokemon that has served me very well too. I'm able to hit a Thunderbolt with Vikavolt, but that isn't enough and a Liquidation ends me. Beautifly then uses its Air Cutter to slice this thing in half, but his Tyrantrum is too strong for me. I am able to hit a Bullet Punch, but Scizor just gets one shot by Head Smash. I bring in Beedrill and use Brick Break to force out Magmartor, but we have the perfect answer for this fiery beast, Araquanid and its Liquidation. He thought his Gengar could deal with me, but he hadn't met my level 100 Armaldo yet, who used his rocks to blast him back into the afterlife. That's when he got desperate and sent out his Mewtwo, but that thing couldn't even stand up to my Beedrill's Pin Missile. But he had one more trick up his sleeve, a Mega of his own, Metagross. And my Wasp only hit 4 Pin Missiles, which wasn't enough to take out the Iron Giant, and with a Zen Headbutt, my Bee gets knocked to the ground. This basically meant it was over for me. I sent out Beautifly, but it got KO'd. Then Armaldo, who got Meteor Mashed. I only had one Pokemon left, and that was Araquanid, who could never outspeed. But a miracle from the heavens happened. Metagross missed its Zen Headbutt, which allowed me to hit a Liquidation and win against the professor. His dream crushed right there by the same kid he manipulated for years upon end. He doesn't understand how something like this could even happen, but in the end, willpower and perseverance always win. The authorities come in and take Professor Beach away for a very long time as he's going behind bars, and everybody else like Kieran and even Hazel, who entered the room together with the police, thank me for all my efforts. But because we defeated the professor, who in turn defeated Kieran, that automatically makes me the champion. And only champions can enter the Hall of Fame, so we leave our good old friend Hazel behind and end off this journey by becoming the most legendary trainer Xenodin has ever seen. And that was the story of how a little kid broke free of the shackles of an evil team and channeled the willpower to do the impossible.